support as much as the city can, city's fiscal situation allows.
Well, I was on KUCI earlier in the week and discussed the Barclay Theater. And I believe the Barclay Theater, it is a value add to the community. And it's not something where I would be voting to cut at this time. To Mayor Choi's comment about the city had tough times, just like the rest of the economy. And unfortunately, one of the things that you look at when you have these recessions is you have to look at where you can cut discretionary funding or spending. And unfortunately, one of the line items was the Barclay Theater, and fortunately nothing was cut. But right now the city has approximately $9 million surplus for this year. And if I am elected, I don't have any plans to cut any funding to the Barclay Theater. I think it's a great collaborative partnership between the city and the Barclay Theater itself. So that's where I stand on that, and I'd like to see it continue going just as it is. Thank you.
The proposed cuts to the Barclay Theater didn't happen that long ago, so memories should be fairly fresh. It was the mayor and Councilmember Lalonde who pushed to cut the funding that the city provides to the Barclay Theater by $500,000. They were aggressive about it. In my view, they were mean-spirited. They had along with it cuts to legal aid, taking money away from poor families that desperately needed legal advice and assistance, maybe to save a home, maybe for a divorce, a dissolution of a marriage, a child custody issue. $100,000, they proposed to wipe out that program. They also proposed to take away $10,000, as though it's a big amount of money, from the Human Relations Commission, and $10,000 a year from the Discovery Science Center. This was all mean-spirited. It didn't just sort of happen that it got restored. Yes, people came in, dozens and dozens of people objecting to cutting the funding for the Barclay Theater. And it was only, fortunately, because Councilmember Shea had a daughter or a granddaughter who benefited from the children's programs and the dance programs at the Barclay Theater that the money was restored. But in the end, the mayor voted against it, and Councilmember Lalonde voted against it. This is a time for accountability. That's what elections are about. The city, incidentally, in 2012, was not running a deficit. We actually were running a surplus once again. We had $80 million in reserves. There were no financial emergencies that would suggest that the Barclay Theater or any other beneficial program should be cut.
Thank you. For our next question, we'll start with candidate Daigle and work our way towards the podium and start back at the end. The question is, UC Irvine and Irvine are wonderfully diverse places to work and live. What are some initiatives or practices you would enact as an elected official to support this continued diversity?
Yes. This is for jobs, correct? At UCI?
We can repeat the question for you.
Sure. UC Irvine and Irvine are wonderfully diverse places to work and live. What are some practices or initiatives you would enact as an elected official to support this continued diversity?
Well, generally, I believe successful job placement should be considered as an essential part of a graduate school. And I would like to work with campus partners at the graduate or graduating division, whether you are undergrad or a master's program. And work with the alumni relations to expand specific resources targeting towards improving job placement and develop a significantly larger network of alumni connections programs, such as, she just screamed it at me. Such as, your LinkedIn. Maybe you could actually set up a group on LinkedIn and pull your alumni in there and potential students. I think University of Phoenix does something very similar to that on LinkedIn. And have people at the government level, city, state level, reviewing these areas, listening to what you're looking for and possible ways of connecting you to those people. We have a large consortium of businesses, pharmaceuticals, big pharma, biochemicals. We have technology such as Blizzard. We have a huge amount of companies here. And working as an intern for any of these would be very, very good. So the chamber could get along with us and students, even on a monthly basis, to see where a good fit would be for those of you. There's a great benefit to the community, and there's a great benefit, again, for all of you. And I can't bring it up enough with the science, engineering, math. It's really important right now. Technology is at the forefront. So let me end this with graduate, stay in school, move forward. You're all so important to us.
Thank you.
Good friend of mine describes Irvine as a salad bowl where so many people have come from different ethnicities, different religions, different backgrounds are mixed together, but they retain their identity, unlike a smoothie where everything gets all mixed up. And the climate to support this diversity and this acceptance comes from the police department, from the city council, from our institutions in the city. Recently, there have been some issues that I know of and that I've worked with, and I'll tell you about them personally. I was called to deal with an issue in the LGBTQ community regarding discrimination. And I worked together, I'm a community services commissioner appointed by Larry Abram, and I worked in that role with the police department to investigate these claims. And I can tell you we need to bolster our programming and our training for the police department to deal with LGBTQ and race issues. I also worked with a Muslim Montessori in our city that was kicked out of a city building that they had been renting. We have childcare and schooling issues in our city that should never have happened. On a bigger scale, we have the Global Village Festival, which I've done a lot to work with as a community services commissioner, and I personally instituted food tours, which sound innocuous enough. But the specific reason that I did food tours was because it was to get the University Hills faculty down into our community when there was a perception that our city was very vanilla, very plain. And we've been at Caspian, we've been at Vietnamese restaurants, we've been at Shabu Shabu. And so the way that we bring people together is to understand food and culture. And I've worked very hard to do that in the 2 years I've been on the Community Services Commission. With the opportunity to serve on council, I can do much more.
Thank you.
Thank you for that excellent question. I have been employed by the Orange County Human Relations Commission. I've got a long background in the area of human and civil rights, and I definitely think that the city has to address the diverse community in a positive way by celebrating our diversity and certainly being vigilant and not hiding under the rug and suggesting that we don't have additional discrimination in housing and employment in the city. So we continue to be vigilant and we continue to celebrate our diversity, our religious, our ethnic, and diversity in our community. Now, calling sister city applicants from Pakistan and from China terrorists or Taliban members and suggesting that we cannot in any way have a sister city relationship in any country that might have human rights violation is just very narrow-minded. We have to celebrate the entire world. We are a global village. We need to be part of our diverse community in the city. We can't call each other names. We should not eliminate the opportunity for us to reach across to brothers and sisters in other countries so that we can begin on a very human level, a brother and sister level, to have some dialogue and to continue to work to make the city a wonderful place to live for an entire diverse community. Thank you.
Thank you. I have on my literature, if you've had a chance to pick up my card, a statement on the front about cultural appreciation. And I think it's really vital for us, not just to say that we tolerate different cultures, but that we embrace them. And that's my viewpoint. I love the diversity of the folks that have moved here into Irvine. I appreciate all of the great qualities that they bring to us. What I'd like to move beyond, though, is this focus on entertainment, because I know that these wonderful people from around the world didn't come here just to entertain me as an American. It's not just about cooking or art or dancing. This is much deeper, and what I'd like to explore more is the core values that we share. The love for family, the love for education, the love for great art, and for great performances that we talked about, that we want to keep the Barclay Theater in order to pursue. But how can we really come together and appreciate one another's core values? And this is what I would like to explore more. And as a council member, I would like to have a community council where we do have people from all walks of life in our city to help to contribute to the discussion about how can we encourage people from all over the world that are coming to Irvine. How can we share values together and build that sense of community? How can we learn from one another about entrepreneurship? How can we strengthen our educational system according to the new values and new viewpoints, really, that come in? We can't think of everything, and so it's great to have many viewpoints. And this is the richness that I see in our community, is that people from all over the world are bringing new and vibrant ideas and new viewpoints for us to explore and to take advantage of.
Thank you. We'll start back again.
Thank you. A little history lesson is probably in order. When I arrived here in Irvine in the 1970s, in the mid-1970s, by that time, we had already undergone the modern civil rights movement, and it was illegal in the state of California and in the country to discriminate